My name is Marina Caldwell, and I was 30 when I learned something no one warns you about. Sometimes the person who says, I need space, doesn't mean space. They mean a stage. They mean you're supposed to step off quietly while still paying for the lights. It started on a Thursday morning, one of those gray, ordinary mornings that should have belonged to routine. My inbox pinged with a message from Evan. Not a fight, not an accusation. Just, we need to talk. We'd been living together for nearly 2 years in a cozy 2-bedroom apartment I'd found first. Qualified for first, signed for first. My lease, my background check, my name on everything that kept the place breathing. Utilities, internet, water, auto-deducted from my account like a heartbeat. For a long time, we split costs evenly. Clean, precise, adult. The kind of partnership that makes you feel safe enough to exhale. But lately, his payments had started shrinking. Evan called it temporary, cash flow, building momentum. He'd been trying to grow his freelance videography into something bigger, something real. And I wanted to believe in him. I did believe in him. So much that I didn't say out loud what my banking app was already screaming at me. His share went from half to a third to a fifth. And somehow I became the woman who covered the rest without ever announcing it, because I didn't want to make love feel like a spreadsheet. That night, he cornered me in the kitchen with a calmness that felt rehearsed. He didn't sit beside me. He stood, like he needed height for what he was about to do. His shirt was wrinkled. His hair still damp like he'd washed his face. Not the face of a guilty man. The face of a relieved one. Marina, he said gently, like he was about to read a poem at a wedding. I've been thinking about growth. I didn't answer. I just watched him. He swallowed, then delivered it. I feel like I'm vanishing in this setup with you. I need my own space to breathe. You're not doing anything wrong, but I'm stifled. Stifled. The word hung in the air like smoke that had nowhere to go. He kept going, eyes steady, voice soft. I need to live alone for a while, temporarily. This isn't us breaking up. I just need to reclaim who I am without constant company. It was said so smoothly it almost sounded reasonable. Almost. My first instinct wasn't anger. It was the quiet, humiliating urge to prove I was easy to love. So I nodded like a woman swallowing glass. You want to live alone, I repeated. Yes. His shoulders loosened like he'd been carrying the sentence for weeks. Just for a bit, for me. I waited. Let the silence stretch long enough that his words had to sit in it without distraction. Then I asked the question that always turns a self-discovery speech into a courtroom. Is there someone else? His eyes flashed. Not sadness, not guilt. Irritation. That's exactly my point, he snapped. You always assume the worst. I'm asking for autonomy, and you turn it into cheating. I didn't apologize. I didn't soften. I simply looked at him until his breath got shallow. Then he pivoted, like he remembered he was supposed to sound enlightened. I found a 1-bedroom loft downtown, he said. It's perfect for me. I can move next month. We can keep dating, just with distance. The kitchen felt colder. I stared at him, trying to understand the shape of what he was really saying. So, you're moving out next month, I said slowly. He hesitated, just a beat. Then he smiled, like he'd solved a puzzle. Well, logically, it makes more sense if you move. I blinked. He gestured vaguely around the apartment, our apartment. This place is perfect for my gear. Lighting, space, the second room. I can finally set up a studio. And you work remote. You can work from anywhere. I swear, in that moment, I heard something inside me click into place, like a lock turning, like a door closing. Because it wasn't the request for space. It was the assumption that the home I had built could be reassigned like a spare room in his personal growth journey. He looked at me like this was obvious, like I was supposed to smile and call him brave. I thought about the last few months, my auto payments, his temporary dips, the way he'd started leaving dishes for days because he was in a creative sprint, the way he'd stopped noticing what I carried because he assumed I always would. Then I did something that surprised even me. I smiled. Not because I agreed, because shock smooths your face into something polite when your heart is trying to back away slowly. All right, I said softly, I want you to be happy. Evan's expression brightened instantly, relief flooding him so fast it almost looked like affection. He stepped forward and hugged me, too tight, too triumphant. This will make us stronger, he murmured into my hair. You'll see. Thank you for understanding. And that's the part people don't understand about boundaries. Sometimes you don't set them with a speech. Sometimes you set them with action. That Saturday, I rented a moving truck. Not in a month. Not once he's ready. That weekend, when Evan left for what he called a videography seminar, I packed the apartment like I was reclaiming stolen time. My workstation, gone. My monitors, my desk, my ergonomic chair, gone. The living room TV I'd paid for, gone. The console, the end table I refinished myself, gone. The kitchen gadgets, stand mixer, coffee brewer, convection oven, gone. Even the shower liner, because I bought it. And I was done donating pieces of myself to a man who called my presence stifling. By the time Evan came back, the apartment looked like a stage after the actors left. Echoing, exposed, suddenly honest. He froze in the doorway, jaw slack, eyes wide. What are you doing?" he choked out. I carried the last box of my novels toward the door, calm as a woman folding a letter she'd already decided not to send. "You needed room to rediscover yourself," I said. "I'm giving you all the room you need." His voice cracked. "But where are you going?" "I got a place," I said. "Short-term rental across town. Cozier, quiet, mine." He stumbled after me, following like his panic had a leash. "I thought you'd stay until I moved next month," he blurted. "That was the plan." I stopped beside the truck and looked at him, really looked. "Why would I stay?" I asked. "You said you were stifled living with me. I'm fixing that now." His face reddened. "This is insane. You can't just abandon—" "Abandon?" I repeated, soft. "Evan, you asked for distance. This is distance." Then his eyes flicked toward the apartment like he finally remembered the real fear. "What about the rent?" he demanded. "It's due in 2 weeks." I tilted my head. "That sounds like a conversation you should have with management," I said. "Your name isn't on the lease." His throat bobbed. "I can't pay $2,400 alone." I let the silence sit for a beat. Then I said the sentence that changed everything. "You should have thought about that before you asked for independence." His mouth opened, closed, opened again. And I watched a new emotion crawl across his face, something uglier than anger. Realization. That his space wasn't supposed to cost him anything. That I was supposed to vanish politely and keep funding the story. His phone started buzzing in his pocket like a warning. Mine did too. And I knew, before the first guilt trip even arrived, this wasn't going to end with a clean breakup. Because men like Evan don't panic when they lose love. They panic when they lose access. I climbed into the truck, shut the door, and drove away. Behind me, Evan stood in the driveway of the life he thought he could keep, without me. And in my purse, my phone lit up with the first message of the storm. "This is childish." I didn't respond. I just kept driving. The first message came before I even finished unloading the truck. "This is childish." No greeting, no question, just a verdict. I placed my phone face down on the counter of my new place. A narrow one-bedroom with uneven floors and sunlight that came in sharp, honest angles. Smaller than the apartment I'd left. Quieter. Mine. I told myself I wouldn't respond. Then the second message buzzed in. "You're punishing me for expressing my needs." I exhaled slowly, set up my kettle, let the water boil. By Sunday night, Evan's texts had turned philosophical. True partners support each other's growth. Couples take breaks all the time. You're being emotionally controlling by forcing this timeline. Emotionally controlling. I stared at the phrase like it might rearrange itself into something fair if I gave it time. What he meant was simple. I wanted freedom without friction. I wanted independence without invoices. Monday morning, I drove back to the old apartment, not to see him, but to end things cleanly. I dropped my keys with the property manager, explained I was terminating the lease early, and agreed to pay the 2-month penalty without blinking. He nodded sympathetically. "Already have 3 inquiries," he said casually. "At a higher rate, too." I thanked him and turned to leave. That's when I saw Evan. He was sitting on the lobby couch like he'd been waiting for a verdict. Hair uncombed, knee bouncing, eyes rimmed red. Not devastated. Cornered. "Please," he said as I passed. "Just stop this. Let's talk." "We already did," I replied. "You told me what you needed. I listened." "I didn't mean now," he said, voice cracking. "I meant gradually." I stopped. "When someone says they're suffocating," I said quietly, "you give them air immediately. Not on their preferred payment plan." His mouth trembled. "Where am I supposed to go?" I didn't raise my voice. "You found a loft downtown, remember? Perfect for videography." "That's not available until next month," he snapped, "and it's $1,800. I nodded once. Sounds like a problem for the man who wanted autonomy. His eyes flashed with something like betrayal. "You're heartless." I walked out. By that evening, the calls began. First his mother. "Marina, sweetheart," she said, voice already trembling. "Evan is distraught. Can't you resolve this maturely?" "We did," I said evenly. "He expressed his needs. I complied. But he doesn't have a place to stay." He wanted independence, I replied. That includes independence from my housing and my money. Her tone hardened. A real woman wouldn't let a man suffer like this. I hung up before she could finish the sentence. Wednesday morning, a post went up. Brooke, Evan's closest friend, had written a long emotional story about vindictive women who weaponize finances when men ask for space. I was tagged. So was my silence. The comments exploded. Some people praised her. Some people asked uncomfortable questions. Why wasn't his name on the lease? Why did he need money if he chose to live alone? Why ask for space and then beg for support? A mutual friend, Jordan, did what I never planned to do. She posted screenshots, dates, amounts, messages where Evan admitted he just needed Marina to hold things down for a bit. The internet shifted. Not fully, not kindly, but enough. 2 weeks passed. I settled into my new routine. Morning walks, quiet evenings, no camera gear stacked where dinner should be. I started sleeping through the night again. Then Monday hit like a car crash. Missed calls, voicemails, texts. From Evan, from his mother, from Brooke, from a number I didn't recognize. Finally, one voicemail slipped through the chaos. His voice was different, thin, shaking. Please, he whispered. This is an emergency. Against my better judgment, I called back. He answered on the first ring. Thank God, he sobbed. I'm in serious trouble. What kind of trouble? I asked. I wrote checks for the loft deposit and first month, he said rapidly. They bounced. Management is threatening fraud charges. Police, Marina. Actual police. I closed my eyes. How much? I asked. $3,600, plus fees. They want it tomorrow. Silence stretched between us. Can you help me? He whispered. Please, I'll pay you back when the client payout clears. With what? I asked quietly. My business. The business you said was gaining traction. Please don't do this, he cried. I'm panicking. I kept my voice calm. You asked for autonomy, I said. This is what autonomy feels like. Jail is possible, he snapped. Do you understand that? Yes, I said. Call a lawyer. You're unbelievable, he spat. You're doing this on purpose. No, I replied. I'm doing nothing, which is exactly what you wanted from me. There was a pause, a long one. Then his voice dropped, venomous. You want me to fail. I shook my head, though he couldn't see it. I wanted you to succeed, I said. You wanted me gone. You don't get both. He hung up. That night, the accusations escalated. Voicemails from his mother, crying, then screaming. Messages from Brooke calling me a monster. One text from Evan's brother asking me to be the bigger person. I didn't respond. Tuesday afternoon, Evan messaged again. Sold some equipment, avoided charges. Congrats, you got what you wanted. I hate you. I stared at the screen. You want distance from me, I thought. Hatred is just more distance. Wednesday morning, my phone rang from an unknown number. I answered, assuming it was work. A woman's voice said, Hi, this is Vanessa. The name landed in my chest like a dropped plate. Evan's ex-girlfriend. We need to talk, she said. And suddenly, every missing piece shifted into place. I didn't answer Vanessa right away. Not because I was afraid, but because something inside me wanted to understand the shape of the truth before it spoke back to me. I stepped onto my narrow balcony, the city humming below like it had always been there, indifferent to personal collapse. I leaned against the rail, phone pressed to my ear, and said carefully, Why are you calling me? She exhaled, not dramatic, not defensive. Tired. Because Evan is spiraling, she said, and I think you deserve to know what actually happened. I waited. The seminar, she continued, the weekend you moved out? That wasn't a seminar. Of course it wasn't. We met for brunch, Vanessa said. He told me you two were basically done, that you were emotionally distant and he just needed time to reset. I felt no urge to interrupt. He said you were supportive, she added, that you'd agreed to give him space while he figured things out. I closed my eyes. Did he mention that space came with my rent payments? I asked quietly. Silence. No, she said, he didn't. Vanessa spoke carefully after that, like someone walking through glass. She admitted Evan had been messaging her for weeks. Subtle at first, nostalgic, testing the water. Compliments about her getting him. Jokes about how Marina, me, was so structured. He'd framed me as stability he was outgrowing. I didn't know he was depending on you financially, she said. If I had, I cut her off gently. It wouldn't have changed anything, I said. You didn't owe me loyalty. He did. Another pause. He thought you'd wait, she admitted. That you'd move out but keep paying until he found himself. There it was. The unspoken plan. The fantasy version of independence, where the bills stayed paid, the fridge stayed stocked, and the safety net stayed invisible. Why are you calling me now? I asked. Because he showed up at my place last night, Vanessa said, with bags and no money. My chest tightened. And? I asked. And I said no, she said quietly. I'm not his solution. We ended the call politely, almost kindly. When I hung up, I felt nothing like triumph. Just clarity. That evening, there was a knock at my door. I knew who it was before I looked. Evan stood there like a man who had slept on borrowed couches and lost the right to complain about it. Hair greasy, eyes swollen, wearing the same hoodie I'd last seen him in days ago. Please, he said, 5 minutes. I held the doorframe. 2, I said. He stepped inside, glancing around like he was trying to locate the woman who used to live here. The woman who smoothed things over. The woman who paid quietly. I messed up, he said quickly. Vanessa meant nothing. It was just ego. Validation. I watched him. You blew up our life for validation? I asked. I was scared, he insisted. We were intense. I'd never lived alone. I thought I needed to, but I thought you'd be there after. After. Like a bench you return to once you've tried running. You wanted a backup plan, I said. No, he protested. I just didn't think it would be this real. I nodded. That's the problem, I said. You wanted the idea of independence, not the cost. He flinched. I love you, he said desperately. I just needed time. You loved what I provided, I replied. Consistency, safety, a life that ran because I made it run. That's unfair. No, I said calmly. It's accurate. His shoulders slumped. I didn't see it that way. I know, I said. That's why we're done. He looked around once more, like the walls might argue for him. Where am I supposed to go? He whispered. You'll figure it out, I said, independently. He started to cry, ugly, helpless sobs that once would have pulled me in. Now they just confirmed the truth. I opened the door. Please, he said, anything. This is anything, I replied. Leave. He stepped out. I closed the door, and with it, the last illusion that love could survive entitlement. 3 months passed. Not in dramatic bursts, not in healing montages. Just days stacking on top of each other. Quiet, ordinary, unremarkable in the way real recovery always is. The internet drama burned hot for about 2 weeks. Brooke kept posting. Long Instagram stories about financial abuse, about how some women punish men for needing space. Evan reshared them at first, then stopped. Because the leaks didn't come from me. Someone, still anonymous to this day, posted screenshots under Brooke's captions. Messages Evan had sent to Vanessa. Messages where he begged her to let him crash, just until things stabilized. Messages where she said no. The comments flipped. Fast. People don't mind a villain, they just hate hypocrisy. Evan moved back to his parents' house after the bounce check incident. Not temporarily, permanently. His father apparently set rules, curfews, job applications, rent. The loft downtown never happened. The creator grind turned into a full-time sales job at an electronics store. His videography page went quiet, then disappeared. Brooke loaned him $800 to get back on his feet. When he couldn't repay it, their friendship fractured publicly. She accused him of abandoning her. He accused her of exploiting his crisis for clout. They both stopped posting. The last message I received from Evan's mother came 2 months after the door closed. Subject, you won. Body, I hope you're pleased. He cries every night. He lost everything over one mistake. I read it once, then replied, he didn't lose everything because I refused to forgive him. He lost it because he let go with both hands and assumed I'd catch him anyway. I didn't send another message. Last week, I saw Evan at a grocery store. Whole Foods of all places. He wore a store uniform, scanning shelves with the careful focus of someone who can't afford mistakes anymore. He was buying budget wine. The kind he used to joke tasted like regret. Our eyes met. He looked like he might speak. I nodded once and walked past him. No speech, no confrontation, no victory lap. Just boundaries holding. 2 nights later, his brother texted me. Not to beg, not to accuse. To thank me. Evan had finally admitted everything, he said. The messages, the plan, the assumption that I'd keep paying while he found himself. Their father had made accountability a condition of staying in the house. I'm sorry for how we treated you, his brother wrote. You did what needed to be done. I wished him well and put my phone down. People ask if I regret being so severe. I don't, because it wasn't severity. It was precision. He asked for distance. I gave distance. He asked for autonomy. I allowed autonomy. He asked to live alone. He did. Autonomy just came with invoices he hadn't budgeted for. Evan wanted the aesthetic of independence, the Instagram caption, the narrative arc, without the responsibility. He wanted to play adult while someone else underwrote the risk. When I stopped funding the fantasy, it collapsed. That wasn't revenge. That was cause and effect. I'm dating again now. Slowly, equally. No speeches about finding myself. No growth plans that require my bank account. The old apartment has new tenants, a young couple hauling boxes up the stairs, laughing like they think love is simple. I hope it is, for them. As for me, I'm not happy because someone else fell. I'm peaceful because I stood still. Because I didn't confuse boundaries with cruelty. Because I finally learned this truth. Reality isn't punishment, it's just reality, when no one is cushioning the fall.